What's going on, YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Batman Secret Files Miracle Molly #1. So this is considered a Fear State tie-in, but in all honesty, it plays completely different. In fact, it doesn't really have any real references to Fear State. This is a Miracle Molly origin story. It's written by James Tynion IV, and the art is done by somebody just named Dani. I guess they're too good for last names to just go by Dani. Why their last name isn't on here, I'm not sure, but there we go. Let's talk about this issue here. So, I talked about Batman 113. I talked about the Nightwing tie-in, but this thing, overall I should say, I think this issue was fine. There's some really good stuff in here, but other stuff I'm kind of mixed on. The art style in particular didn't really do it for me. It's just not, like, after reading, like, Batman 113, also by Tynion, like, and seeing that gorgeous Jorge Jimenez art style, seeing something like this, it just doesn't really quite click with me. Like, it doesn't feel... It's just not really my thing. I think it's a little bit messy at times, but like maybe for you it's really good, but for me it didn't quite do it for me. But anyways, let's quickly summarize the stuff that happened in this thing. So this is a Miracle Molly origin story. It doesn't really feel like anything related to Gotham, all things considered. It just feels kind of like an independent comic that just happens to exist in the world of Batman. It's so far removed from everything else, and I actually appreciated that about it. So let's quickly summarize it. So to start off this issue, we have Miracle Molly trying to go and steal money for the Unsanity Collective to finance some stuff from this one guy named Matsuda and his family, who turned out to be her ex-husband, who, all things considered, really wasn't a bad guy. He kind of gets shit on pretty badly for just, I don't know, like, just really not doing anything wrong. Yeah, sure, his parents-in-laws are maybe a little bit annoying, just wanting grandkids and, you know, being like, hey, where the hell have you been? But really, all things considered, her husband really didn't, like, have to do anything bad. But anyway, so yeah, this issue covers the story of Miracle Molly. Basically, she's somebody who's really depressed in life, especially at work and at home. It just seems to be going through the same monotonous cycle over and over and over again. And the only real bit of... She works for some place called Helios Robotics. Her boss is a complete douchebag. She's never recognized for her work. He's just like, oh, you're trying to get your extra credit in here. Like, he's one of those typical, like, douchey kind of corporate bosses, if you will. Really nothing special about him, all things considered, but like he's just, you know, I guess misogynistic, and that's pretty much his whole entire character. And like, even when she eventually kind of leaves the company, like, he's like, I'm gonna steal your designs anyways. Oh, your designs aren't good enough unless I can steal them and pass them off as my own work. That type of character. And yeah, she has her same monotonous life cycle. She gets there, she makes love to her husband, and nothing else there. But the only thing that kind of keeps her going really is Master Wise and the whole Unsanity Collective thing. And she spends her nights online in these online forums with the name Miracle Molly. So yeah, she goes through the same cycle over and over again. It just, nothing ever seems to be working. She never seems to be moving up the corporate ladder like she wants to. And even then, like, she just seems kind of out of it with her grandparents, or with her, you know, mother and father-in-law. And her husband's just kind of like, hey, are you okay? Eventually, like, it gets to a point where she's just so out of it anymore and nothing seems to be working, where her husband just kind of tries to have a conversation with her. And he's like, hey, look, I was thinking maybe you should ask your bosses directly about the kind of projects you want to work on. Maybe it leads to something, but if not, maybe that's a sign that it's time for you to put that part of your life away and for the two of us to start having a family. And, you know, she's been kind of out of it and depressed, and she's just not really having a conversation and kind of talking about her problem. She's kind of keeping everything bottled up inside, when in reality, like, she should just, you know, before she does the whole Unsanity Collective thing, she should probably just talk to her husband about all things, but I guess not. So then she decides, you know what, fine, I'm going to go. Like, screw it, I'm going to talk to these things. She goes in and tries to pitch her ideas with the one douchey boss there, and then immediately afterward, she is fired. So yes, pitching your ideas that they don't want, it gets you fired, but they still take her ideas anyways. He's like, yes, he. Oh, these ideas are great, even though they weren't good 5 minutes ago. Ha ha ha. Yeah, so he's just a real douche, and she's not going to be able to take her stuff because she forgot about her whole contract thing, where anything she develops there, like, just, you know, belongs to Helios. It was on the contract, so she completely forgot about that thing. So yeah, she didn't read the fine print. She's upset about the whole thing. She tries to go back to get her designs, and the douchey, stalky, creepy, misogynistic boss comes in, tries to take advantage of her, basically, and she hits him in the head. And I don't know if she kills him or just straight up knocks him out, but I don't know, like, a bloody head is something else entirely. She never goes back to her husband or even converses with him, because again, he was the one who kind of told her the idea of like, hey, if this doesn't work out, then, you know, maybe it's just not destined to be. We can try the family that we've talked about, because she's obviously had conversations about having a family with him. I mean, she married this guy. He's not abusive. He's not a dick or anything. But yeah, she just leaves her husband to join this Unsanity Collective thing and just wipe out all her memories and stuff, because she's really sad and depressed. And then that's that. He comes in there. He's like, hey, you're my wife. I'm really concerned about all the stuff that's happening with you. He's like, this isn't you. And she's like, yes, this is me. And then, you know, her father-in-law is just like, Mary, your mother has been worried sick. You have responsibilities. And then she's like, my only responsibility is to build a better tomorrow on the ashes of the world. Men like you have ruined for the rest of us. What did he do? He wasn't the one who fired you from your job for all that. Like, I mean, he didn't really do anything. And like her husband, who gets tased, I feel really bad for this guy. He's like, Mary, please, this isn't you. Sorry, but it is. It really is. And then that's just kind of it. So yeah, we learned her origin story, which is an interesting one. I like how there's a lot of panels of really kind of putting us in her perspective while she's just kind of tired of the same thing. Like, there's a lot of panels without any dialogue. And like I said, like stuff like this where it's just kind of all sprinkled in, like just the same repeating pattern over and over. It just kind of drives her insane. Kind of makes me think a little bit about the movie, almost like the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas, where he just kind of had enough and just little things just kind of set him off. But that movie, like, at least from that point of view, like, his wife had left him. He wasn't even able to like see his own daughter. Here, it's not like she has an abusive husband or anything. If they really wanted to like put forth this idea that she really was going to snap and make this change, then you really should have written her husband a little bit differently, like making him like understanding kind of, and just trying to be a little bit supportive. Yeah, he says some things like, oh, you're gonna be late, your button's undone. Like, he's just kind of giving her things to give her pointers at her job. And it's not like he's like a poor, like unwealthy, like he has a bit of wealth going on here. That's why they come in and they try and steal from him. But yeah, like, I mean, I don't know, I just don't like the way that her husband was kind of shat on just so she could kind of like, I don't know, like not try and get help for her depression, but instead has to give up to this whole like Unsanity Collective thing. I don't know, it just didn't really connect with me in that regard. So the art style, I think with a better art style, this could have been a little bit stronger. But all things considered, I like the fact that this almost, like I said, feels almost like an independent comic that just happened to like a creator-owned independent type comic that just happens to be a DC comic. So I do think this was a stronger narrative than Batman 113 that came out this week. And out of the whole Fear State stuff and the tie-ins in that, I actually think that this was probably the strongest out of everything that's come out, all things considered. I do think it is worth checking out. I just think maybe one more go about with the scripts could have worked a little bit better, and I think with a different art style, it really could have. I really could have felt things a little bit more, because the art style just being kind of a little bit messy, at least in my humble opinion, kind of takes me out of the story. Like, I mean, I don't know, that like it just doesn't feel as clean and crisp as some of the other art that I've come to see, like from Jorge. I mean, like the stuff is there, like panels like this are kind of there. Like, it just needs a little bit stronger art style to really kind of to work for me. So I don't know, that didn't quite work for me. But everything else, I thought this was a fine issue. Miracle Molly was a character I wasn't really all that interested or excited in at the start of it all, but this actually like made her somewhat interesting, although like a lot of the stuff is kind of her own fault. And she, like, I know tries to craft some sympathy in some ways, and yeah, you can feel it, but like, it's not like her life was the shittiest thing possible. It's not like if say they made her husband abusive or something like that, like a really terrible guy, then I feel like her like reasoning to join the Unsanity thing would be a little bit more justified. But I mean, she just got let go at her job. I mean, she got royally screwed over, and the guy was a douchebag. And you know, I don't blame her for smacking him with the phone, because he was a creep. But just kind of giving up your entire life for this online Unsanity Collective thing, and even like, though, like, it just felt like she didn't care about her whole thing with her husband and all that, which I mean, obviously she didn't, but like, why not just break up with the guy at that point, or like have a conversation instead of just, you know, I don't know, you can't, she's not able to really face her problems head on. She has to kind of escape from it all, and I guess that's kind of the point of it all. But I don't know, some of that just didn't quite like work for me. But I mean, this is like a much stronger issue than like the main Fear State Batman book, than anything else that's really kind of come out with Fear State, at least so far from what I've read. So I do think it is worth checking out at least once if you're interested in the character. If you're not interested in the character at all, then maybe you could skip it, but it is a lot stronger than it was a lot better than I thought it would be going into it. So I wish Tynion would have kind of these smaller focused issues like this instead of just kind of needless padding, which we've gotten a lot of in his main Batman title. So yeah, all right, well, that's all I gotta say about Batman Secret Files Miracle Molly #1. I think this is worth checking out despite some of my gripes I have with it. It's definitely one of the stronger Fear State titles, like probably the strongest so far. I know Fear State hasn't been going on that long, but a lot of the other tie-ins just kind of felt I don't know, to me. So all right, well, that's all I really have to say about this thing. Kind of all over the place, but you should check it out if you're interested in it. Like, it's not like the greatest thing in the world, but I think I think it was interesting how her character kind of came to be. So all right, well, that's all I got to say. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit that bell for notifications. I got more comic reviews coming up in the next few days. I think Robin comes out on Tuesday, so I'll definitely be covering that. And yeah, got more stuff on the horizon. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.